Hello, buddy. Welcome back to Tin Man Score Channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor, and today I'm reacting to three more scary storytellers. And the first one is Dark Reality, and the video that I'll be watching is three creepy true phone call horror stories. So without further ado, I'm going to turn these lights off, move the camera up here for you guys, and let's get this reaction on the road and in the bag, shall we? Okay, here we go.
This is a true story that happened to me a long while ago when I was 10 years old.
Okay.
This story happened in a small town in the leafy suburbs north of New York City in Westchester County. It didn't happen at my house, but at the house of one of my good friends at the time, about a block away from where I live. This is one of those towns in Westchester where there are huge suburban houses set among oak and maple trees. It was a safe neighborhood where I knew the owners of each house by name. The houses were generally quite large, with multiple floors and several bedrooms. The house where this scary story takes place was extra large. It was not the shining hotel large, but it was a large colonial house with 5 bedrooms on the second level.
Wow. If I had the money, I would definitely buy one of them old colonial houses. I know I can throw a lot of big parties in there. But you definitely don't want to be buying one that has a lot of paranormal stuff going on in it. But you see in some of these horror movies here lately that they have stuff happening in plantation homes that are non-paranormal. It'll make people want to not buy one of those type of homes. But anyway, let's continue on with the story, see what happens next.
The family living there had 5 children ranging from 10 to the upper teenage years at that time.
Okay.
The night this happened was a dark, cold night. The parents were out with dinner plans that evening, and I was there visiting my friend Byron, who was also 10, and his older brother Jacob, who was 12. It was just the 3 of us in a large house on a dark night during October. I knew this family quite well, so I felt very at home in their home. We were just goofing around that night, playing some games and watching TV. 3 kids in a large empty house, so this is where the night becomes creepy. The 3 of us were in the kitchen with the lights on bright. It was around 11:30 at night, so it was late but not super late. The phone rang, and Jacob, acting as the head of the household at 12 years old, answered, "Hello." We then saw Jacob get a peculiar look on his face, and he hesitantly said, "Just a minute," and then did something a bit odd. He rested the phone down on a chair. This was one of those wall phones from the 1990s. I don't think people still use those. In any case, he put the phone down and just left it and walked upstairs. I remember thinking it was a strange thing to do, but there could still be a reasonable explanation.
Yeah, probably looking for someone in particular that person was calling about, or they were calling saying his name to come upstairs or something. I'll be going to follow him just to figure out what he's doing. That's a little creepy and weird if he hasn't done that before.
I looked at Byron, and he also had a curious WTF type of expression on his face. We were quiet for a few seconds, and both our facial expressions showed signs that we thought this was peculiar and odd. Here's what happened upstairs. Jacob climbed the stairs and went into his parents' room, where there is a tabletop telephone. This is one of those old corded phones where you pick up the receiver and hold it to your ear. Jacob picked the phone up and said, "Okay, I'm upstairs, what's up?" A few moments went by with dead silence, and Jacob asked, "Hello?" Then the voice came. It was calm but cold. "Jacob, there's a bomb inside your house, and it's going to blow any second now." The other end had hung up. He dropped the phone and felt panic rush through his body.
Oh, hey, no. If there really is a bomb in the house, grab all your siblings and your friend and get out. But I cannot believe somebody would scare him in a panic to tell him to pick up the phone upstairs and then say, "There's a bomb in your house. You better get out now." That would make me not only scared to death, but mad as hell. Because why would somebody do that? This better be a prank call. If not, you better sweep the house, and if you do find something explosive looking, call the police.
He ran out of the bedroom, down the stairs, and started screaming, "Get out of the house! There's a bomb in the house! There's a bomb in the house!" We saw Jacob at the bottom of the stairs running, and he did not waste any time heading straight through the foyer, outside, and down the stone path that leads away from the house and out to the street. Byron and I ran with confused fury as well. Jacob stopped running when he arrived on the other side of the street on the sidewalk. We looked across the street at this huge house, looking very eerie on the dark night. The house had several lights on, the front door was open, and it was empty. There was no one around. The neighborhood was still and quiet. It was just us, 3 kids, the oldest 12 years old, standing there on a cold October night at almost midnight, scared out of our wits, and waiting for the house to burst into fire. I was feeling chills through my body and on my skin from the cold, dark air. Our jackets were just in there, and we could just go get them so easily, but we thought the house could blow up at any second. Jacob explained what had happened on the phone call upstairs, and that he thought it was his Uncle Jerry. But now he didn't think it was his Uncle Jerry. It was bizarre that the caller knew he answered on the ground floor and told him to go upstairs. How could he know this? We thought that maybe he told Jacob to go upstairs so that he wouldn't have enough time to get out of the house before the possible explosion. We stood there. We waited. We were scared. We were cold. We thought the large, boxy, empty, illuminated house on this dark night would soon be in flames, or that there was a chance it would be in flames. It never blew up. But we were still afraid to go inside because maybe it would blow up then. Eventually, we went to the neighbor's house. The father there didn't seem as scared as we were, but he did call the police. The police searched through the house, and Byron and Jacob's parents also arrived home. The whole thing was some kind of practical joke, a prank call, and there was never a bomb.
Are you kidding me? I don't know why people want to call kids and say there's a bomb in the house and get them all riled up. I mean, what do you have to gain from that? Because here I was thinking, okay, if they were prank calling them, they did that just so they can rush into the house once they see him leave and steal some things and get out. But the cops didn't see nobody in there when they came and nothing was taken. Then, yeah, that was one messed up prank call.
We never found out who made the call, and Jacob to this day still has no idea who it could have been, and still says that he, at first, thought it was a friendly call from their uncle. There are a few pranksters in the neighborhood. Actually, we were among the biggest pranksters in the neighborhood. Still, that doesn't explain how the caller knew Jacob was on the downstairs phone and that there was another telephone upstairs. And further, it seems like the caller knew who he was speaking to. Who would do such a prank that is so sinister to a few vulnerable kids home alone on such a night?
Exactly. I mean, that's just not only stupid, but creepy. Like, this person just had the heart to prank call someone to make him get all in a panic and cause his siblings and friend to flee the house and call the police. So it had to be someone that he known, but disguised his voice. And I got a feeling that he was probably outside looking in just to see when he was sitting down at the table with the others, and then call him on his cell phone and tell him to go upstairs. But that is just cruel that someone will take a prank that far. I'm just sorry you had to go through that night. Let's get to story number 2.
From the time I was 12 until I was 18, my mom lived in a 2-story apartment. I lived with and was raised by my grandparents, but I spent a great deal of time staying with my mother, so both places were equally home for me. For the entire 6 years that she lived there, my mother received sporadic phone calls from an unknown caller that we both came to call the Hello Man. The reason for this is fairly simple. When he called, he would say hello several times in a monotonous voice with a short, evenly timed pause between each utterance. The only time he ever called was when no one happened to be there, so each call was recorded on the answering machine. Each time the call was made from a blocked number or a public place, and it goes without saying that it wasn't a voice we recognized. The first few times we wrote it off as being a wrong number or a prank. It wasn't exactly threatening in any way, and it wasn't even unsettling to us either.
True, but if he keeps calling, then you know something's up here. This ain't no person calling the wrong number. But I'll be wondering why in the world they keep saying hello and then don't say nothing else. Very creepy.
For the entire 6 years we would receive these calls. Sometimes weeks or months would pass before we'd find another one of these messages on the answering machine. After a few years, when we became completely certain that it wasn't someone we knew, we still didn't find any harm in them.
I mean, 6 years? That's a long time for people to keep calling you and just say hello. I'd be getting paranoid by that point and answer the phone and say, look, you got the wrong number. Stop calling this house. I'm getting annoyed here.
Irritating to come home on a bad day when you were already in a bad mood, but nothing more. It even became a bit of a running joke in the family. weaving into the idle comments that made up our days and small talk between one another. In all the years we received the calls, the messages were always the same, and no other contact was made between this person and us. About 2 years before she eventually moved out, for unrelated reasons, my mother had her number changed, again for unrelated reasons. Several weeks after doing so, a new message from the hello man was left. The context of the call was the same: hello, hello, hello. But for the first time, the tone and pacing were different. There was barely a pause between each word, and he was louder, almost panicked in the way he spoke. Later that week, a second message was left. This one sounded angry, and he said hello just a single time. For the first time, we felt a little threatened by the caller. How had he gotten her new number? You'd think this would be more reason for us to suspect a friend or family member.
I would be thinking that too, but why would they get so agitated when they said, hello? My guess is you got someone that's spying on them for a long period of time, probably hacked their phone just so they know the number. But then once they changed the number and moved, they got a little upset. This is getting ridiculous.
But it only made us more sure that it wasn't. No one we knew would take a prank far enough to make us feel a legitimate threat, no matter how small. The small sense of fear disappeared quickly, however. It was weeks before we received another call, and when we did, it was back to the same monotone and slow repetition as before. In fact, after this point, the calls came even more infrequently than before, and we all but forgot about the hello man in the times between. At the end of those 6 years, 3 years ago now, I was staying with my mom nearly full time to help her pack up and organize. Due to some various personal issues, she would be putting most of her belongings in storage to stay with us, my grandparents, my siblings, and I, for a short time before finding a new place for herself. On one particular night, when it was just me and my mother spending the night at her now nearly barren apartment, we received the last call from the hello man. An actual call while we were there, not a message left for us to find hours or even just minutes later. At the time, we'd been taking a break and watching a movie, which was just the reason we'd still kept the couch, TV, and DVD player at the apartment. Hello, hello, I know you're there this time. Hello. There was a long pause during which we heard nothing, not even the sound of his breath. Then, just as the answering machine was about to cut off his message, he started quoting a line from the movie that had been said just a few minutes before. The machine beeped and cut him off, but he didn't call back. Needless to say, we called my grandfather to come pick us up because we didn't want to spend the night there any longer.
Someone is spying on them. I don't know what they have to gain from calling their phone. So many times they keep saying hello, 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 but then finally he said, I know you're there. That will creep me out. And then he actually known what movie they were watching and said a line from it. Write down the numbers he's calling from and see if the police could trace it and find out who this guy is, because this is getting insane. It's like you can't even enjoy a little peace in your own apartment without an interruption of this guy calling you. I mean, after all that, I'd be like disconnecting the home phone altogether and just tell people to call us on their cell phone.
So, I currently attend college in a major city in the United States. It's a lovely place with tons of fun things to do. However, it has one big downside. It's a major human trafficking hub, one of the biggest in the nation. For me, a teenage girl, this means that I have to be especially careful.
Okay, once they mentioned that they're in an area that's like known for a lot of exciting things to do, I'd be like, that sounds like a good place for me to go. But if it's known for human trafficking, I'd be like, change my mind. I ain't going. Don't want to get involved in that.
My parents gave me the whole safety talk before I moved out. Never go out into the city alone, especially at night. For my first 8 months on campus, nothing too concerning happened, save for a few catcallers and the particularly inappropriate behavior of one homeless man as I ran by him during a workout. However, when I returned to campus after spring break, I had one of the most anxiety-inducing experiences of my life. I had visited my parents over spring break and taken a bus back. It was a lot cheaper than airfare, and my cat didn't handle flying well. I'd visited home a few times, and usually I'd had no problems getting from the bus station to my dorm when I got back to the city. I'd call a ride from an app and be home in 10 minutes or so. My bus got in around 9, so it was already dark outside. I'm not sure what happened, but for some reason, the GPS on the ride-sharing app must have messed up my location. 4 different drivers missed the turn to find me and ended up canceling the ride. After 30 minutes of waiting, now on the 5th driver, I finally called to tell her exactly where I was outside the station, so there wouldn't be any confusion. She said she was on her way, so I stood on the curb and waited.
Oh, I'll be pissed off at that because you went through 5 different ride share drivers and yet they didn't know where you were, so they just cancel it. I'll be like, oh, come on. I'm right here at this bus station. I mean, you could probably see it if you ride by. But yeah, you never know what the maps would do nowadays. It might glitch out and cause people that were going to pick you up to get confused.
I had headphones on, but wasn't playing any music. This was my way of preventing people from approaching me, but also allowing me to hear and be aware of my surroundings. Boy, I'm glad I did that. After about 2 minutes of standing on the curb, a man walks directly behind me, stops and leans up against a wall. At first, I'm only mildly wary of the man. I feel the vague sensation that he's watching me, but try not to get too paranoid. After feeling like the staring is continuing, I text my boyfriend to let him know what's going on, just in case. The man pulls out a flip phone and makes a call. I feel a bit less nervous, until I hear the conversation. I'm not sure who he was talking to on the call, but the man was describing details of my appearance into the phone. I hear snippets like, "She's tall, maybe 5'8", red hair. Yeah, she's young, she's pretty." I try not to show any sign that I'm hearing all this. My headphones are still on, so I figure he thinks I'm clueless. I check my phone to see where my ride is. She's stuck at an intersection about a half-mile away. I'm not sure what I should do at this point. I couldn't just start running because I still had my bag and cat carrier. I decide to call my driver again and ask her if I can stay on the line with her until she gets here. I can tell she's a little confused, but I didn't want to go into detail. If this guy was trouble, I wanted to make sure he didn't do anything sudden if he realized I'd caught on to him. However, I didn't want to call the police because I didn't think I had enough to report him yet. I also didn't want to walk anywhere else because the surrounding area wasn't lit as well as where I was already standing.
Yeah, that'd be a stressful situation. You don't want to make the driver that is picking you up agitated, and you definitely don't want this guy catching on that you know, but that'd be creepy to hear him talking to somebody say, yeah, 5'9", reddish brown hair, she's pretty. Tells you right there he's part of some human trafficking ring probably. But that person that's supposed to pick her up needs to hurry up before he does grab her.
For some of you, this may not sound like the scariest experience. For me, however, being alone at night in a big city with a human trafficking problem and suddenly having a strange man stare at me and call to tell someone what I look like in creepy detail, it scared me. Big time. He hung up his phone after a few minutes, and thank God my ride got there about a minute later. I'm not sure I want to know what would have happened if that driver had canceled on me too.
Well, you'll be in a heap of trouble, that's for sure. Left defenseless to the mercy of those human traffickers. And you had like a cat carrier with you, you wouldn't be able to run with those. But thank God our ride showed up. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, turn on post notifications for more dark reality content like this. This has been another successful installment of the Tin Man Score channel. I'm your host, Jeffrey Tin Man Taylor, and that's a wrap. Have a nice day, y'all.